I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
A little aggressive for Friday, right? This is more Monday, I think. Like, I hate everything. I just want to break stuff music. This is, you get these flipped there, I think.
I think he's ready to turn it up this weekend. I think that's what I'm taking from it.
Yeah, it wasn't, just what was next up in the list. It was certainly something that this is the mindset for a Friday.
I think Clint's ready to rage.
Rampage, baby. Let's break some windows.
Rage, baby.
Start some fires.
It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and with Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. We'll have Friendship Girls Basketball as they take on New Home tonight. It's the Chuck Hines Invitational because New Home is involved, and that coverage starts at 6 here on Double T 97.3. How are y'all doing?
Well, I'm glad it's Friday. I feel like this week, and there really wasn't a ton of eventful stuff going on for me personally, but it just felt like it was a slog, man. Like on Wednesday, I was asking myself if it was Thursday kind of week, one of those deals. Just, nothing.
Well, my thought. I was trying to make it Wednesday on Tuesday. So
no, I got it. I've tried unsuccessfully for about 56 years for the most part, but it was just kind of a grind of a week, but not in a really tragic way or anything. Just it's what it was. Sometimes having a home basketball game or something like that in the middle of the week will help split up the proceedings a little bit, but it just felt like as I reflect on it, I'm thinking, man, that feels like it was 5 days ago, not 2.
I just got an email.
Oh, wow.
Sending myself emails.
It's the best jingle ever.
Shut up, Blue's Clues. I'm just kidding. That's a Clint Scott original. On Tuesday, November 14th, you were not here. And you might not have been here either. I don't know. Choice was sitting in on the show.
Ouch.
And he predicted that Jimbo Fisher would be a hot commodity in the coaching carousel after being dismissed from A&M.
That's right. I forgot about
You
this.
remember this? Okay,
Yes.
So you were there. He predicted, again, Tuesday, November 14th, that Jimbo Fisher would be hired at either Houston or Baylor.
Oh.
And we can definitively say that this was wrong because Dave Aranda is still at Baylor, and then Willie Fritz is at Houston. And Jimbo Fisher remains unemployed.
He's doing fine,
Yes.
but unemployed.
I mean, at what point, what is the wealth level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you go from unemployed to just rich? Because does he have a job? No. Is he really unemployed?
Wealthy. Yeah.
Is that Jimbo at the soup
Probably
kitchen
relative.
over there?
Man, yeah, falling on hard times.
I mean, and the answer to that's probably somewhere around doesn't have to work, which, most Division I football coaches, if they've done anything to take care of their money, Division I head football coaches, if they've done that, ascended the ladder, hung around at the top of the ladder for 5-10 years, ought to be able to coast. Not saying they want to. But it's the conversation we've had about Cliff. If Cliff doesn't ever want to work another day in his life, doesn't have to. Most of those guys should have enough money in the bank. Now, if they want to be mega wealthy, then keep on working,
right.
But do they have to get up and go, man, I got to go find a job. We got bills to pay around here. No.
Maybe once you are able to have money work for you,
Yep.
You're not unemployed.
True.
Would love to get your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com.
We got a caller to the show. Someone calling the Visual Edge IT hotline, talking to Clint right now about wealth. That person dialed 806-771-0973. You should call Clint as well. We need more callers.
Somebody wants to know off of Visual Edge IT hotline if he can collect unemployment.
So thankfully, I don't know a whole lot about that process. My knowledge is only limited to stuff that I've seen in like pop culture, like movies and TV and stuff. Don't you have to, like, doesn't it require you to go on like X number of interviews every week in order to kind of?
That's what I thought. Like you had to be
Can you
actively
imagine
trying
Jimbo
and
Fisher
taking
rolling
the steps.
into like a McDonald's or like a Wendy's? You know, like, yeah, I just need to get an interview to just, check this off my list.
And like how many people, if there's, especially in that area, thinking someone was playing a joke. Yeah, we got another Jimbo Fisher application.
Eventually he starts like changing it up, like he's, Jimothy Fisher or
James Fisher.
Yeah. James.
James.
What's his middle name? Surely we have that on.
James Fishburne.
We sure it's not
Actually,
Bo?
his name is John James Fisher Jr. So he could
Jingleheimer Schmitz.
He could mess
His
up all kinds of
name
ways.
is my name too.
Well,
Oh, just whenever I go out, people always shout, there goes James, Job, Jimbo,
Heimerschmidt.
Amy. Yeah.
Let's see. We get this in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I tried to file unemployment, and then I remembered that I am self-employed. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Jimbo Fisher went and sat on the toilet this morning. I wonder if he has a bidet. I wonder if he has one of those fancy Japanese toilets.
Yes.
And saw that he had another $26,000 in his account just like every morning until 2031. From Sam, I feel like when you have Jimbo money, those people value power over wealth. The power grab is more valuable to them.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey there, how you going? It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. Would love to hear your thoughts and your comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. John Morosi of the MLB Network reporting today, just about 15 minutes ago, that Shohei Ohtani is on his way to Toronto. He also says at this hour, Ohtani does not have a signed agreement with any MLB team. What do you make of this, Gus?
Ohtani, we know that he was one of Ohtani's visits was to Toronto earlier this week, and along with the Dodgers, and maybe others. Those were the two that I was aware of. And this I would describe this as a fairly tight free agency process with regard to not and his agents. He's associated with CAA, not Boris. The Boris playbook is to wait till the end and create kind of brinksmanship, try to create some desperation at the end and get the bidders ratcheted up and all. Ohtani being done with this in early December or mid-December, I guess, seems to align with who the player is, and I probably wouldn't have guessed Toronto if we'd have been talking about this 2 months ago. The early smoke was on the Rangers. There was a lot of that kind of right after the season, because Ohtani supposedly had a list on which the Rangers' name was located. So But for whatever reason, he apparently is favoring the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays have a fearsome offense already. Of course, whoever signs him, or we don't have any signed agreement, no understanding of terms, only people's projections at this point. But you're getting the hitter, obviously. Ohtani won't be pitching this year. But boy, dropping him into the American League East with because the Blue Jays were a playoff team in the AL this year, and dropping him in there with that Orioles ball club that won 100 games, and there's Yankee angst like crazy, and Red Sox angst, and I mentioned those two specifically because they are not afraid to spend. And then we know about Tampa. That's who the Rangers beat in the opening round. And so, to drop Ohtani into that deal. Now, the league is less division centric than ever, and so it's not something that you would, that we would say, hey, Red Sox, you're going to face that guy 19 times. And I know the schedule's got much more balance to it, but regardless, that's some high-priced baseball going on in that part of the league. And boy, you can bet if in fact this is true, if in fact it is true that Ohtani's going to the Blue Jays, you can bet that the heat is on in New York City, specifically with the Yankees.
And early on, it always seemed like there was, he's going to stay on the West Coast, right? Because he's a Japanese baseball player, and historically they have tended to, kind of focus on those West Coast teams. But I think Toronto makes a ton of sense. I mean, it is an international city.
I was just about to say that. It's an international city, yes.
And it's not like it's probably unlike any city in America outside of maybe New York, but New York is just so New York, if that makes sense, that it kind of, I don't know, maybe it's not as international in some ways as Toronto. But anyway, it's a massive story. And don't there's going to be some people that have to move to Toronto as a result of this to cover him. Much like, ESPN had a LeBron James beat writer.
Yep.
I'm guessing that they will probably have someone camped out in Toronto.
And you're exactly right in the level of probably some international focus that has gone from, I wouldn't say 0 to 100, but it's gone from 10 to 100 because Ohtani, as Ichiro did, and some of the really prominent Japanese players have had a following, a sort of a gaggle of reporters and photographers that'll follow them from site to site. And I don't just mean home games, but just Japanese reporters. And you would think that Ohtani, as much as anybody, would attract that level of attention. And the player Ohtani was, I'm just looking at his numbers here, 44 homers last year, 20 stolen bases, 95 RBIs, 304 hitter. That's the hitter. But that's you stick him in there. Of course, he'll DH this year, period. You stick him in there, a couple of hitters behind your boy George Springer and Bichette, Vlad Guerrero. I mean, that's the look of Ohtani's name on a sheet changes things in terms of how you deal with him. And the Blue Jays will still have the Alek Manoah question. Manoah was probably their best pitcher coming into last year and really fell apart. And fell apart to the extent that 2 years ago he pitched in the All-Star game, and last year he was back and forth to the minor leagues and mess. Of course, we're talking about a former West Virginia pitcher, a guy that's pitched against the Red Raiders a couple times, but they feel like, Ohtani this time next year, slotting in behind Kevin Gossman, and with you don't know what they're going to get in Manoah, but they're trying to build around. They're trying to build around this, that situation, the Manoah situation. If he gets himself right again, that is a fearsome rotation and lineup. But obviously the pitcher, Ohtani, is a year away.
Somebody says this seems convenient that the smoke signals being sent up from the agent about two teams with the lowest resources in the AL East. Not buying that one bit. LOL. Sorry, but not going to happen. It's to draw in the Yankees or Boston. Just a reality. That seems like a pretty good email to send there, Gus.
With regard to
this texter saying it's not going to happen.
Oh, the Blue Jays thing's not going to happen. Got it. Okay.
I assume.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it would be good smoke. This rumor, I mean, because this is believed to be going down now,
right, today,
and even early this week, as the winter meetings were playing out, the conversation was, "Hey, the Ohtani thing's going to be done this weekend," and which again was a little bit of a head turner for me, just to, because we're all sort of used to, if you follow this. You look at the Boris list, and you go, all right, Boris is
March 15th.
It's brinksmanship. It's the ultimate in brinksmanship, and to create some desperation and get teams to the deadline that are going, hey, we've been working. I'm localizing this just so it'll make sense to our listeners, but to take Jordan Montgomery to the edge with the Rangers. Take him right up to the edge with spring training, and then go, hey, I got the Yankees on the line. I got the Rangers on the line. Just take it up to create a near desperation level, fever pitch, bump up an extra year into the agreement, bump up some extra dollars or whatever. It doesn't appear that Ohtani's doing that, but this will be fun to watch him, hopefully, over the next 2.5 hours.
More Tech Talk next.
Podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Dr. Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. We'll have coverage of Friendship girls basketball at that time as they take on New Home. We'd love to get your thoughts and comments today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at double T973.com. Maybe one of these days this damn thing will work, but it won't be today. Unreal. This on the chat line, not a baseball fan at all, but that remark about the Jays having an explosive offense is very interesting. Please explain to me how a game in which the ability to score is predicated on the pitcher being able to throw the ball well enough to get it to the batter can have an offense better than others. Are some batters able to hit at different angles? Would them having a great offense imply that they play against really bad pitchers and outfields? Baseball.
No, I would say it's just more explosive hitters. I mean, more dynamic players. In the same way that we've talked about, a lot of times as we've talked about football this fall, and we've talked about like the Tech offense, and not saying this to throw shade, but just sort of a reality of the fact that we have had to for many of our scoring drives, it's a 8-play, 9-play, 10-play, 11-play. That we've had, and the reason I bring this up is it's a comp I've used when I talk about our offense the last couple of years have been a lot of singles and doubles hitters. We haven't been able to throw that Xavier Worthy bubble screen and get 80 yards out of it, or to throw that little RPO crossing route, he makes a safety miss, and then it's a foot race that he wins. When I would talk about that in just in baseball terms, Shohei stealing bases, hitting a bunch of home runs in a lineup with other guys that have a lot of versatility. They're explosive. speed, power, all the things, a lot of different ways to beat you is probably the way I would describe a one offense being better than the others. And of course, baseball is a very numbers-oriented game, whether you want to get as sophisticated, and it's not that sophisticated, but whether you want to look at an OPS type number where there's a slugging percentage and on-base percentage and those type things, the better the number, the better the number of high-performance players. If my lineup has more high-performing players than yours, then you're going to have trouble unless you can offset that with great pitching or really stellar defense or something. But in terms of just sheer offensive descriptors, I would say they're versatile. They can beat you with speed, power, bludgeon you, whatever. Hope that answers that question.
What if you were fighting in single combat? I do like swords. What kind? I mean, and bludgeoning was an option. What weapon would you go with? What would be your weapon of choice?
I got a 17-incher.
Would you go sword? Would you go mace? Would you go
pull out a 17-incher? Just go clubbing.
What's the?
I feel like the mace looks really cool,
A flail?
or a flail fits in too. Looks really cool, but is very impractical.
Is that the ball with the spikes in it?
Yeah.
The flail is the ball on the chain.
Yeah, the mace is connected.
Yeah, the mace is the ball on the shaft with spikes and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh, asparagus.
I just clarified that.
No, yeah. And then you got swords.
Please explain more weapons.
I would probably go mace. I feel like those would be a little bit lighter to swing around.
So it has to be bludgeoning?
Well, no, it can be slicing or piercing.
Oh yeah, sword. Like a smaller sword, not like a big.
Even a smaller sword is going to be pretty heavy, and you're going to be pretty tuckered out if you're like 3 or 4 swings.
Yeah, but you're going to be just as tuckered out and do less plausible damage with a mace.
A mace is not as heavy. They move faster, and it will definitely hurt you.
Less reach, it will hurt, but it won't. Like, you have a better chance at getting the kill shot in.
I feel like we're like 2 rounds away from going Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Okay, what blaster would you use?
I think one aspect of the the bludgeoning deal is, I mean, it sounds great, like, having like, what'd you call the big thing with the ball, the chain and the ball? And
so the flail
spikes.
has the handle with the chain and the ball.
Yeah.
The mace is like a club essentially.
Yeah.
And then the Morning Star is a mace that has a ball at the end with spikes coming out.
And so,
yeah, check my math if you
like
want
if
to.
you
No, I was sorry. My brain was following the description. I wasn't doubting you.
the thought of having some big, thing that could just knock the crap out of someone's great, but if it's unwieldy and when all the knights are standing there just lined up, just clubbing each other,
right?
If it's unwieldy, you need to be a big strapping buck if you're going to be taking that, you probably need something a little lighter that you can be nimble with it.
Gus is about to go brass knuckles. Are we armored?
That's probably not.
I mean, you can if you want to.
Not enough heft.
That's a different conversation, though, because the more armor you have, the less mobile you are.
Right. Well, because
I would probably go chainmail with a lot of leather mixed in.
Because if it's if it's not armored, then the brass knuckles, if you get in close, you're going to have the advantage.
I don't know about that, dude.
Why not?
I don't think brass knuckles would help you very much. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Someone says they would use a scythe.
Isn't that a scythe?
A scythe?
A scythe, then what you cut weeds with.
Right. Yeah, or wheat.
Weed cutter. Yeah, or wheat cutter.
It's the Grim Reaper with his scythe.
Rachel says, this is the nerdiest conversation I've ever heard y'all have, and that's saying a lot. Tracy in Dallas says,
you know what? I cleaned it up, actually, because I had one right there on the tip of my tongue, and I shut her off.
What, a scythe?
No.
No, we want to know. What were you going to throw out?
The iffy reference? Because we were talking about bludgeoning implements. F, marry, kill, the bludgeoning instruments.
I'm very interested for one of those, certainly more than the other two.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I would want to anything with spikes, so that probably makes mace.
I know, that's why you better be careful.
You know, and then I'd marry the Morning Star because it's not you know, with the flail, you don't know where it's going to go all the time, right?
True.
Very unpredictable, and then I would kill the flail.
So which one for the first one?
Mace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Gus?
Yeah, I asked the question, dude. I don't have to play.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Bobby Hot Dogs, who says they don't call AD Leather Daddy for nothing.
Do they call you Leather Daddy?
No one does.
I've never even so much as worn a leather jacket, much less any other sort of leather.
Yeah, same. We'll have a question from Tracy in Dallas about Tahj Brooks next on Lubbock Sports Station Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Gus, did you get a skinny vanilla latte today?
I did not.
What?
No.
After all that?
You know what? The coffee shop in at the heart of that discussion has a half price Thursday thing going on in December. And I had been told about that Wednesday night. Oh, that'd be perfect. And of course, naturally, I go over there. You have to order through the app. Okay, no big deal. Yeah, right there when you check out, there's a little doodad you got to click on to get the half price thing. Of course, I didn't execute that. Didn't get all the flavor profile right. And so and then I walked in here about 5 minutes late yesterday. That's what I was talking about. I just said yesterday was full of misfires.
Well, you could have redeemed yourself today. I mean, you could have got the skinny vanilla latte with the correct flavor profile and everything.
How about I just turn it up tonight and try to make up for it?
Yeah, there you go.
How's that?
Tracy in Dallas says this. Hey, boys. Sorry, I just joined. But my Lubbock sources tell me that Tahj is practicing and is going to play in the bowl game and perhaps even play next year.
That is correct.
What is correct?
That he's practicing.
Yeah.
The team. And that I'd have to reread the text to wordsmith that, but that there could possibly be here next year. I believe that is true as well.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know up to this point, he is playing in the bowl game. There's been no announcement otherwise. We're not that far away from it, right? Like they play a week from tomorrow, right? They head to Shreveport on Wednesday, and we'll hear some comments from Joey McGuire later on in the show. So if he's going to make a decision to not play in the bowl game, I mean, it needs to. I mean, you would think it needs to be this weekend or not. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know that his draft stock is to the point where, it makes much of a difference. I just and again, this is not anything against him as a player, right? He's made himself. He has put himself, due to his hard work and his execution, his performance, in the conversation for one of the best running backs of this air raid era, if you want to call it that, right? So from Mike Leach to now, the last 23 years, it's Torian, it's DeAndre Washington, and it's him in whatever order. And if he was to come back next year, man, that would be just as big as the Hutchings and Bradford news last year, right? That'd be awesome. That would be a day to be celebrated. What?
I'm just watching this video on this tweet, and it made me laugh out loud. It's just two dudes in the backyard. It said it's the Steelers offense. Look at this dude, just like a homeboy with the orbit
With the
motion
blazer.
over here.
Yeah.
And then the back. Hey, you just go home without me. I'll be going, Clint, can you give me for about 5 minutes? At Gus26, you can get after that.
This and the Yates Flooring Center chat line, you're going to get clapped going up against a mace with brass knuckles. That's what I'm saying.
I think if you miss once, then I'm going to get in a lot more shots. Again,
In this scenario, am I blind?
maybe.
Because how would I miss you with a mace,
What are you saying?
presuming that because you're big, presuming that you're in somewhat range.
I'm agile like a cat, though.
That's not what I meant when I called you a big.
Oh. I misunderstood. My bad. No, I was just trying to add weapons into the conversation.
Okay.
I'm not actually going to pick the brass knuckles.
Yeah, that would be idiotic. What about nunchucks?
I would
Or
hurt
nunchucks.
I would hurt myself before I hurt
I would
the
end
other
up
person.
racking myself for sure.
As
There's no doubt.
even as agile as a cat like I am, first swing I'm like knocking myself out or in the nads.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Swing and miss and just
I'm a YouTube video waiting to happen.
wail yourself. There was at least twice in my lowly baseball career in which the weighted bat got me on the back heel, like as I'm setting it down to walk up to the plate, like swing, and wham, and then it just hobble up to home plate, and the ump's looking at you, and the other catcher, what'd you do?
Infield in.
Just smoked myself.
That's a lingering injury. I'm pretty tough. I've been playing through it all season.
Like if the
This would never happen to Clint, the great collegiate hitter.
if you were in Hunger Games and the weapon cache dropped at the start, you wouldn't go for brass knuckles, right? Like you maybe crossbow, but give me a flail or a mace or a Morning Star, 100%.
Is there a box of hand grenades?
You walk around carrying a box.
Don't you just in the
Well,
backpack,
and plus
you know?
it's like that's useless in a close quarter scenario. You're just going to blow yourself up.
Well, I'm not going to get close.
I mean,
I'm not going to be like, we're both gone. We both lose. Joke's on you.
crazy eye Clint.
You think you had me? I got both of us.
How about Naquan Tomlin? We talked about that drama a bit throughout the show yesterday. He is now in the transfer portal.
Well, that's interesting. But probably not an unimaginable turn of events there. I mean, with the president more or less putting the kibosh on his tenure there. And we had the Coach Tang had the emotional. Did you think that was sort of he had a tweet in which he called for
video.
unity on campus? Would you call that like a sort of fireside chat?
I think he's done that. Like
Has
he calls
he?
it hanging with Tang,
Yeah.
I think.
And he's just kind of sitting in a chair at half court, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, are they
It's
all?
more like
the
it's
purple
a small
couch.
sofa. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Your sarcasm is noted.
Yeah, it's kind of a like mid-century modern type sofa. Pretty slick. More tech talk next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi there, how you going? It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. Would love to hear your thoughts and your comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. Paolo has this question. Of the guys in the portal, do y'all think a one-on-one interaction with Joey McGuire in a quiet hallway would be awkward?
No. In fact, a lot of conversation took place at the media availability following practice today about that. I think it was Don Williams who asked the question. Of course, Don with the Avalanche Journal that asked the question of Coach McGuire about portal players, and I think Don's question point had to do with looking over there and watching Shuck and Nehemiah Martinez playing catch. Like, sort of how do you handle this situation? For example, there's two guys over there, and Coach McGuire gave a long answer about his, the fact that they've been players here, and unless they're leaving in bad turn, or criminal
legal
deal
issues,
or something, or whatever, bad in a bad standing with the program or something, that he supports them. And he said that a lot, that I don't think that it's lip service when he says, hey, I tell those guys I'm here to help them. Like I'll help them get somewhere else, and how these things can be difficult because the player thinks, hey, I think I've got something lined up here. Okay, I'll make a call for you. And then, as he said, 800 or whatever the number he used, but, suddenly there's 800 guys in the portal, and maybe the initial interest that they thought they had to go somewhere else has cooled a little bit, or, hey, we got 8 other tackles we're talking to, and now our guy. But, the answer to all of that is I don't think so. I think he's, and it's even being reported, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, that Loic plans to play in the bowl game. Loic Fungi does. And that avenue is still open to him. Whether that means he's going to do a bunch at receiver, I don't know. But he had a monster special teams game against the University of Houston this year, and has been applauded for his play on the special teams this year.
I'll go one further there. I don't know that McGuire has ever had an awkward interaction with anybody in a hallway.
Point. That's a great point.
I just think that he is. Now you never know, right? Like you never do know about really anybody in public how they quote unquote really are, because for Ellen DeGeneres rather, portrays this kind of happy-go-lucky, very cheerful person on television, and then was apparently a nightmare to work with, right? You probably never would have guessed that. But, I mean, I would have a hard time thinking that McGuire isn't exactly who he looks like he is.
Right.
In terms of press interaction and press conferences and interviews and all those things. I think that he is just relentlessly positive. And, that doesn't mean that he's not a realist or can't acknowledge or understand when things aren't working right or they need to be changed or something. But he's always going to put a positive spin on it when dealing with the public, I think.
Saw a note about a former tech assistant, Jake Brown.
How about that? Yeah, the new OC at UTEP.
Yeah, very cool. He's been on Sonny Cumbie's staff, and he was here in 2021. He was part of that, the final year of the Matt Wells regime as an analyst when those guys were, the midseason transition took place. He moved into a full-time coaching spot and right up into offensive coordinator. The other one that was interesting, and I was just reading through some of the coaching tree stuff on John Summerall, who's the coach that goes from Troy to Tulane to take the place of Willie Fritz. Only 41 years old, whatever, but he was an assistant at Troy under Neil Brown. So a couple of connections there.
And there's it's a pretty big hire because, I mean, you're going from Troy, which I think had won the last 2 Sun Belt championships, where Summerall was already the highest paid head coach in the league. Yeah. They upon hearing about the Tulane offer, they went back and said, hey, well, we'll pay you $1.4 million a year or whatever and give you a much bigger staff budget. And then, Tulane was able to kind of money whip them. It's interesting because the American, while it's certainly a step up probably from the Sun Belt, I don't know that it's dramatically a step up. But, it'll be interesting to kind of see how he does and if he can kind of continue the momentum that Willie Fritz brought that place.
Yeah, and given his age, I would think he would be, if he does continue it and carry it on for 2 or 3 good years, I would think he is a rising name in the industry. Who knows? And supposedly he was a finalist for the Duke job as well on that list.
Yeah, and he was a finalist for the Mississippi State job. I mean, he is in, whether he's at Troy or Tulane, he is in the SEC coach waiting room. That's, and maybe that's the value of going to Tulane, is that you're going to a good situation. It's a relatively high profile group of 5 job, and it kind of resets your clock because you'd already won, I think, 21 games in 2 years at Troy. How much better could you do? And this way you can kind of just start fresh again. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, Seth Dagey is the new offensive coordinator at Marshall. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, it's great.
That's very cool. I think that's 2 former Friendship Tigers that are running FBS offenses. Are there more?
And he was the Dagey brother but he never took a snap at.
Right.
He kept, didn't he
knee
pop
injuries.
ACLs both years? And yeah. And I thought we had, did we not cover that a couple of days ago? I thought we had on Seth.
We did.
Yeah. Okay. I was making sure that wasn't new information because I felt like we had touched on that the other day. Really happy for him.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.